Radio.
Warning. Warning.
Welcome to the 2-minute warning where sports fans sound off.
I'm trying to blow your mind. I'm talking literally blow your mind. I'm trying to blow your mind. I'm talking literally blow your mind.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and fight fans alike, to the inaugural 2-minute warning Spinning Backfist MMA podcast. I'm your host, Carl, joined by Tommy D and Omar. What's up, guys?
What's going on, brother?
Hey, Carl.
Now, obviously, this is our first show. We're just getting things cracking in the MMA world for the 2-minute warning group, and I like to say it came here quick, but you know, there was much deliberation coming to try to prep this show to get it off the ground, running as fast as possible. But it seems like it was taking a long time up front. But then when we got everything going, it was kind of thrown together pretty quickly, and we're here. So I know you guys are excited to be here. Me and Tommy have been talking. We kind of like grew up together, so we've been in touch recently about the podcast. Omar, obviously, we made friends through the MMA world and the news with 2-minute warning, and obviously, guys, I'm really excited for this. I'm glad to have you guys here with me, and you know, it's really fun just to get things going here.
Yeah, man, let's get it popping.
I'm pretty excited. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you know, the show's usually going to be about an hour long. We're going to do it every Thursday, starting at 7:30. And what we're going to do is, you know, it's a weekly show, so we got to kind of brief everybody and the listeners on the more major stories for the MMA world, and obviously, you know, we want to touch on all the stories that are relevant and that have, I guess, a fan interest. So, you know, mainly, obviously, the Conor McGregor news always dominates the airwaves lately. I mean, I know, Tom, I know you really can't stand the guy. I'm obviously a Conor fan. I don't really know Omar's stance on him. I think he's a Conor fan. I think he respects his gangster in a way. So, Omar, what are your thoughts on
Absolutely. I think you summed it up fairly well. I respect what he's been doing for the MMA world. I love I'm just a fan of anybody that gets eyeballs on the sport, because right. I just, you know, as you guys remember, you know, I remember the days when we had one show, one pay-per-view every 3 months, and it used to be one
right.
of those things, you know, and or I even go far back and getting the tapes. You know, having to wait until they came out. You know, it was
right,
like
the
some
VHS, bro. Like
stuff. So,
everybody has that one friend where you go to his house and you'd see like a stack of VHS recordings of all the UFCs, and you know, it seems like the numbers started to grow very slowly up front, and we're already up to UFC 205 here, and that doesn't even include the fight nights and, you know, the free cards that they give you. They kind of like separate those, but. You know, hey, I know I'm a fight fan. You guys are fight fans. If you're a fight fan, you love action. I mean, you get basically a card every week. Tommy, you don't like Conor McGregor, or you don't respect what he brings to the table, I guess. You don't really like that he's a loudmouth, I'm assuming. What are your thoughts on him?
As a fighter, I respect anybody that walks in there, with the exception of, you know, some guys. But enough is enough now. Enough is enough. He doesn't need to trash talk everybody. He doesn't need to sell any more than he already has. His name alone
that I'll give you.
His name alone now will bring a ton of money to the card. Everybody on that card, including the champions, is going to make a huge chunk of money. He doesn't have to go with the WWE shtick. I don't know if that's what he's trying to set up for when his fight career is over, because I think he might have incinerated that bridge with his Twitter bullcrap. You know, just
right.
Go out there and fight. He's getting opportunities that, honestly, he shouldn't get yet.
I agree with that. I will agree with that. Looking back at his pedigree and who he's actually beaten, I mean, it's not really a who's who in terms of what some of these legends have gone through and run the gauntlet.
All right, well,
fighters.
Look at it this way. His one biggest fight was his first biggest fight, I should say, was the Chad Mendes fight. Now, he took a guy that was sitting on the couch for how many months? Completely out of fight shape. Frankie Edgar was told that was his fight. Kavanaugh and Conor wanted Mendes. Now, you could say, well, it's because they were trash talking back and forth, blah, 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 blah. But he wanted to fight the best in that division. Aldo pulled out. The best in that division was Frankie, and they opted to go with Mendez. And Mendez was winning that fight, out of shape, and Conor was in perfect fight shape because he had a camp. That's got to tell you something.
Perfect fight shape for not as much of a specialist that Mendez is. I mean, Mendez is more of a wrestler, take you down, finish you on the ground type of guy. So in I get it that Conor did have like his camp and he was in fight shape, but he also, in a way, took the fight on 12 days or 11 days notice as well. I mean, being that Mendez is such a specialist, I mean, you can't go in training one way for a certain fighter and then 10 days later, 10 days before your fight, it switches up and now you got a guy that's basically the pound game to you or the wrestling game to you. I mean, of course, Edgar's more of a specialist than Mendez is, but Mendez also has that wrestling background. So I just think he might have went with the lesser of two evils there. It is a business in a way, and he doesn't want to walk into a fight with Edgar where he could potentially lose. Obviously, he wanted to see whatever he could do to wrap that belt around his waist. So in a way, I don't hate him for that, but you know, I can't really fault him for that because Aldo backed out. I mean, he stole his soul with that whole tour, and then Aldo backed out of the fight, and then when they want to fight, we beat him by 13 seconds. So,
right, but
I mean, I don't know.
When Dana White turns around and says, we put anybody in front of Conor, and everybody that we put in front of him, he fights. Well, that's an out-and-out lie. He picks the fights that he knows he's got a shot at winning it.
Exactly. They were looking to set up fights that made the most sense. Not so much, I think, in a divisional, from a divisional perspective, but I mean, you have to think the stuff that was going on in the background with the potential sale, the non-sale, what was going on there. They needed to post up some numbers, and Conor definitely did that. I can, I always hearken it back.
How about single-handedly did that?
Who exactly? I can always hearken it back to my, who does my mom know is fighting? And there's maybe like 5 or 6 people that show that, Ronda's one of them, and the Diaz brothers, the whole Hispanic connection. So God bless them. Conor's definitely one of those 5 that she goes, oh, is Mystic Mac fighting? Is Mystic? And she knows the
I love
nickname. It. So I gotta hand it to. It's a great move what he's done.
It is.
And
it's just the trash talking gets a bit much.
It does. I understand
True.
that, but if you look at the 205 press conference, and I'll try to be brief here because we do have other Conor stuff I want to get into. I don't want to talk too much about what happened in the past. We got stuff going forward. But if you listen to the 205 press conference, his first words about Alvarez were, "I have respect for Eddie. I got nothing but love for Eddie." And then you hear Eddie, "Be careful, be careful." So of course then Conor's going to say, "Or what?" So he basically stoked those flames on Conor. So who knows where it would have went. Conor, I think, would have taken more of a subdued role because I think he's a little changed fighter after going through the Diaz fight. But I just think that he kind of got poked into like a shit talking match,
Well, Eddie I think poked him on purpose.
Yeah, he's trying to get in his head the way he gets in everybody else's.
Exactly.
I mean, he owns a mansion in Jose Aldo's head.
I like Omar's line was he has real estate in his soul.
Yeah, I mean, he's really nice. You never see Aldo come in with his hands down, chin up, and get cold cocked like that, ever.
Well, he was throwing a punch. I get it. Conor's just a good counter puncher, and I just think that Aldo was so geared up to try to go in and knock Conor's head off because he got under his skin so much. He wanted to win so bad that he kind of like stepped out of his realm for a second. I mean, the fight was 13 seconds. Who the heck knows which way that fight would have still gone, even if it would have went 2-3 rounds, I mean, Aldo's a savage if once he gets going. We saw what he did to Edgar the second time right after that fight. I mean, he could have beaten Conor. Anything could happen,
Of course, but he resides inside of his head. Absolutely.
He resides inside of his head. I love that. All right, but now even bigger news on the whole Conor McGregor thing. This news about this big announcement after the Alvarez fight. I mean, we've heard speculation on him retiring. Just recently we heard that his girlfriend is potentially pregnant and he just wants to take a year off to be with his girlfriend and potential, child to be. I mean, what do you guys have an opinion on what this announcement could possibly be? Omar, what do you think?
I think maybe he wants to retire and just take a step away, but I don't think the company is going to ever let him do that. He's one of the few I mean, unless John Jones comes back and starts to get his head on straight. But I really think it's gonna have to do with not really going back down to 145 again. I could really see where he, regardless of the outcome of this fight with Eddie Alvarez, I think he just finally puts it to bed and says, "Hey, listen, from here on out, I'm going to be at 155 and up. I can't make this weight without the IDs, and so my new permanent home is going to be 155, and we can go up there." I really think he might want to. God bless him. I wouldn't begrudge him. Wanting to take some time with the first baby, but he's, like I said, he's one of those guys that makes way too much money right now at a really tenuous time for the company. They won't let him.
Right. Now, Tommy, do you have thoughts or an opinion on what this big announcement would be? I know you hope it's that he's going to retire and just move away from the UFC world forever, so you never have to hear his voice or see one of my posts again. But do you have an opinion on what this announcement might be?
I don't want to see him walk away. I just want to see him dial it back. Look at it this way, okay? Whatever his personal reason is, Dana White knows it. Do you honestly think Dana's going to give him a 155 title shot if he's going to step away for another year? So then now the 155 division gets tied up. Then they have another interim belt. Here's a thought. If they're going to keep doing that, why don't they just have interim belts in every single division? And every time somebody wins
one belt and one title.
Yeah.
Right.
Every time somebody wins a belt, they just sit, take some time off. It's got to be the 145. It has to be. Yeah, exactly. It's got to be the 145. He's just going to hand that belt off. It's obviously it's going to be Aldo that's the champ. Unless Aldo decides to retire, then they have a tournament or
Aldo's going to go
whatever.
play soccer. Aldo's going to go play soccer right here. He's just going to be, go play soccer, play Pokemon, and never
he's
fight
made enough
again.
money. He can do whatever he wants, but they're not going to let Conor walk away that easy. They let the guy do whatever the hell he wants anyway. So what does it matter? What does it matter?
Hey, guys, I wanted to cut in here. Amidst this Conor talk. There's been breaking news in the MMA world that just recently got dropped. I was just informed by one of my sources that Alexander Gustafsson has removed himself from all UFC competition due to an injured back. I mean, we don't have much news on this yet, but that's just something to read up and look into. So Alexander Gustafsson, as of right now, has removed himself from competition because of an injury. I don't know how long that's going to be. Is his back in his head? Because I think that's where really the injury is. He doesn't want to fight. He's not like that's okay. I got a really tough
Rumble took his soul.
next. Yeah. Absolutely.
Rumble took his soul.
Something happened.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So it's just something. It's just something for us, the MMA guys, the MMA world, and men and women to look into over the next few days. I'm sure we're going to hear some news on that. Well, obviously, back to Conor McGregor. I do want to have one other thing that we're going to touch on. All right, about this whole holding two belts in two divisions. I have just a question, a comment. All right, say he wins this fight with Alvarez and he does, in fact, hold two belts for the division. Why does everybody say that he's tying up two divisions and like, who's to say he can't just take the next fight at the 45 level and kind of bounce back and forth as these fights happen? I mean, he's an active enough fighter. He's more active than Aldo ever was. So why is it that he has to relinquish one belt?
Yeah, he can't do it. He's not going to go from being the size he is now to looking like Matthew McConaughey in the Dallas Buyers Club. He can't do it.
So you don't think that if he can get his body down to 55, just because one time he's gotten up to fight Diaz, or two times he's gotten up to fight Diaz at 70, that he can't drop down to 45 ever again in his life and fight in competition at that level? Why didn't they take the belt from him a while ago then? Like, why are they waiting for him to fight at 55? I, as a fan, I mean, I've never really had to cut much weight for a competition like this, but I really can't see how it's possible that he wouldn't be able to cut 10 pounds and just fight both divisions as these fights, arise. There's plenty of guys that jump up and down. But if that's the case, then I understand that. But how is it that he can't make weight? How is it that he can get down to 55 and all of a sudden just never get down to 45 again?
I think it's percentage of body mass. The way I had it explained to me the best by one of my coaches was,
I know that changed
take a guy
recently with the IV and everything.
For sure.
Right.
Absolutely. So take a look at a guy like Dan Henderson. When he was a dual divisional champion, it was at a little bit of a higher weight. So, the 15 to 20 pounds up there at 185 to 205.
So you're carrying more fat, you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think it's just a percentage of body mass at this point. So say, for example, those 15 pounds on a roughly 200-pound frame is not nearly as much of a crazy cut. And I think, Tommy also hit on it as well, the fact that those IVs are just not there to replenish. And It's not even at the cuts. Now USADA, the golden snitch, as Brandon Schwab says, USADA is going out there, and if you get IVs during camps, just during camps, not even cuts, the question too. If you admit to that, that's what they popped BJ Penn for a little while ago. So I don't think he can. I just physically don't think he can make it. Or if he can make it, I don't think he can perform the way he wants to. And I know as a fighter, that's in your head too.
But what I'm saying is, all right, but if that's the case, how come he just doesn't relinquish it now? Is it that much of an ego thing where they're going to allow him to hold the belt just for a couple more months, just for another month, to see if he has the chance to win, a title or a strap in two divisions? Like, why don't they just take it from him now?
Because you just answered your own question. You just answered
they
your
want
own
to give him as the UFC's golden boy, they're going to let him have a chance to have that.
Dan Henderson. Yeah.
Yep.
So it seems like people should not really hate Conor McGregor for what he's doing, because he's a fighter. He's trying to maximize his value, I would say, dollar value. You should get mad at Dana White for allowing this to happen and kind of make a mockery of an entire commission or promotion, basically, by letting one man run the show.
Everybody has.
Well, it's also a business, though. You guys have to understand, if you have something that makes you money, why wouldn't you exploit that as much as possible and almost kind of run it into the ground? Because you're going to try to make as much money as you want, as you could possibly do for your company or your business. So, I mean, while people should hate him, it's like I almost don't blame him for that, because of what he has with Conor. It doesn't come around all the time. This is kind of like a once in a generation. I would have
Conor McGregor. Yeah, I would have Conor McGregor fight entire towns if I was Dana White. I would beat that into the ground. I would have him fight. He would go to Columbus, Ohio, and just beat up anybody that showed up at like a Belize parking lot in Columbus, Ohio. Get it on Facebook, and that would make tons of cash. If I was Dana White.
Man. Well, I guess that answers my question. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he loses to Alvarez, now he's titleless, I guess, then, because they're going to make him relinquish the belt, and then he's going to have to, I guess, never be able to fight 45 again, because if he ever is able to go back down there, he's going to be eating his words or basically pissed off at himself for kind of relinquishing the belt when you guys say, oh, he's never going to be able to make weight. But if he, in fact, does turn around and prove that he can make weight at 45 at some point down the line in his career, he's got to be kicking himself in the ass for kind of, doing this.
The only way that'll work is if after this fight, he does take, time off, because there's already an interim belt at 145. So if he takes that time off, he'll be able to get down to 145 healthy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not going to be able to do it in a fight camp. It's not going to happen.
No. I mean, with Aldo's recent retirement, what fight does he even have at 45 right now that's going to get him, going?
Holloway.
I mean, what is he going to fight?
Max Holloway.
I mean, I get it, but he, Holloway, I guess, fought him better than anyone else has fought him besides Diaz, in his division, obviously, Holloway. So
yeah, you could definitely, yeah.
And we see rematches go the other way. Right, and we see rematches going the other way all the time. Even Aldo, he deserves a rematch. He fought him in 13 seconds, got caught. I mean, who's to say he doesn't deserve another rematch? It kind of bothers me when Conor's like, I can't get excited for a fight with Aldo. No, you're just pissed because you went through 2 world tours of press conferences and then wound up knocking him out in 13 seconds. If you didn't knock him out in 13 seconds, who knows what would have happened with that fight? He deserves a rematch if he's the number 1 contender, if McGregor can make weight. So I guess I see that.
There's somebody else in that division you guys are missing.
Frankie.
Go ahead.
No. Well, Frankie too, but Anthony Pettis.
Please. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I'm more excited about a Pettis-McGregor fight than I am with an Edgar-McGregor fight, just because of the way Edgar looked against Aldo. I mean, I just...
Oh, come on. I mean, that was the real Jose Aldo.
What was it? Was it the real Frankie? Was it the real Frankie?
Well, yeah. He couldn't rebound off what Aldo was doing. Most guys can't. That's why the guy was undefeated for 10 years.
Right. And then to lose a
You know
fight
what I
in
mean?
13 seconds, I mean, I don't think BJ McGregor has much credit for beating him that way as they should. But that's because fighters and people who have competed or even trained in the sport understand, hey, I can get caught at any point. Show me, show me a couple takedowns, escape a couple submission attempts, and then still win the fight all bloodied and sweated and exhausted. Then you're proving to the world that you can kind of get out of a bad spot. And then I think that would go further for him than just that 13-second knockout. But I don't know. I mean, do you think that fight would potentially go another way if Aldo and McGregor were to get a rematch?
With the counterpunching?
Not with USADA.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just saying,
no.
if that fight was ever put together at 45, could you see Aldo beating McGregor? I mean, I guess I could.
He'd outpoint.
I don't know.
Anything could happen, but
I mean,
I don't think
McGregor's
we're ever going to see Aldo.
No, but McGregor's not going to leg kick Aldo the way he was leg kicking Diaz. That's Aldo's bread and butter. You don't want that guy leg kicking you.
God no.
Right.
God no. No way.
I guess that's enough McGregor talk for now, and I don't want to make Tommy rip his phone in 20 pieces here dealing with that. All right, well, moving on, I want to talk about this George St. Pierre drama. The whole, I want my contract, rescinded. I want to back out of the UFC. I mean, I got to be honest with you guys. I've never trained. I'm just a fight fan. I didn't even think St. Pierre was even still an active fighter. I mean, the last time he fought was, 3 years ago, where he got the tar beat out of him by Hendricks?
And still won.
I mean, please. He left that fight after winning completely, his soul was taken. He's sitting there trying to, on that post-fight interview, he didn't even know what to say. He was like, I'm retiring. He just sounded like he was just so unsure of himself. It was kind of embarrassing. I didn't even think he was still an active fighter. What do people even care anymore what this guy does?
Because he never lost.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, he didn't lose that belt. He left. He retired. Why is John Jones still relevant? He never lost.
Exactly.
Well, if he retired, then how is he still under contract?
Well, because
I don't think he retired fully.
Yeah, no, he didn't, and he actually even went back into the testing pool to try that out for USADA. He was back in the mix there, so he's serious about coming back. But what happens with the contracts is that they freeze them, pretty much. And unless the UFC says, hey, listen, we're going to let you out of this contract, like what they did with Shane Carwin. Shane wanted to come back. He sat there and talked, and they said, you know what, this is not the best place for you. Take care. And then but it's a favor from the UFC. It's not. They could have kept Shane tied up forever.
Instead of holding the guy hostage. Hey, there's no fights for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. There's no fights for you, but you can't go and fight anywhere else.
100%.
Right.
Oh boy, they're gonna not leave any legal stone unturned. And in terms of not having him be an active fighter, I'll give you that for sure. There's nothing that compares to a fight camp. Of course, I'm pretty biased that way, but this guy trains like a werewolf. He trains like an absolute savage in every other, he's over there doing stuff at a gymnastics arena that I just look at and I go, I couldn't do that when I was, 19, for God's sakes.
Right.
He's just, the stuff he does
he's
fun,
a physical specimen, that's for sure.
Right. Trains with John Danaher and Henzo's in New York.
Exactly. I mean, anytime anyone stepped in the cage with him has said, he's like a bull. He's stronger than any guy I could prepare for. There's no one in there that's going to match his strength in the cage to prepare you for what you're going to see when you step into the octagon. I'm just saying, it's been so long. I mean, I can't even get excited about hearing news about this guy until he goes out and beats somebody. They're talking about McGregor, St. Pierre. St. Pierre got the tar beat out of him by Hendricks the last time he fought. So as far as I'm concerned, Hendricks looked like crap recently. So, what could St. Pierre possibly do to excite fight fans other than those guys who are still holding on, who remember, these legends that want to come back and have these, these glory days, like the end of their career runs where, they kind of make a Dan Henderson move out of it. But I'm sorry, I can't get excited about it. It's tough for me.
Well, I mean, he's not over the hill yet. He stayed in shape. He stayed training with Danaher at Henzo's place, and, he stayed training. But the problem with this whole contract is, and I guarantee it, he is owed so much money from his sponsors. I mean, Under Armour alone. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
He's losing so much money.
I'm so glad you said that. Now, you talk about contracts being frozen, right? In 2013, when St. Pierre had his active fighting and he was under contract
Reebok wasn't
with
on the
UFC.
table.
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So now they have a sponsorship with Reebok, and he is under the same money that he was talking about when he was having to get his own sponsors, and Reebok wasn't the UFC sponsor. So now holding him to the same contract, doesn't that seem unfair? Like from a business standpoint, like can he like sue for at least to like rework and move some money around so he now falls under that Reebok? I mean, I'm sure as an active fighter, you get in the octagon wearing a Reebok attire for the UFC, you're going to see some royalties from that. But I just think that the contract should be rewritten to show some of that endorsement money pushed his way, don't you think?
The UFC would have to pony up that money, and they're not going to.
Of course. That seems
I mean, that whole Reebok deal. That whole Reebok deal is just terrible for the sport throughout. I mean, the only guys that are making money off of that are like the guys like McGregor because he's a big name, at the UFC and the champs, and honestly Donald Cerrone because the guy will take a fight every 3 days. It doesn't matter. The more they fight, the more money they make. If you look at Reebok's yearly breakdown, the money increases for how many times a fighter fights in a year. You know, so. But most of these guys, it's like $7,500 or something like that. Some of their sponsors are like $20,000 just to walk through there.
Right.
I mean, are you joking? So
Not to mention
the whole Reebok deal is terrible.
Not to mention, you know, you get back in the old days when you would see these exciting fighters, you know, rolling around in somebody's guard with Condom Depot written all over their ass. There was nothing like that in those days. You know, you miss that side of the MMA game, man. I want that to come back.
Well, why do these guys get to wear Reebok? Why do these guys get to wear Reebok, but the inside of the cage looks like a friggin' NASCAR?
Right.
And you know who's making money?
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not the fighters.
Are you kidding me?
The fighters aren't making.
Right. No, exactly. Hell no, the fighters aren't making. I mean, they make a piece of it, but they're not making the main portion of it. You know, of course, it's designed to, you know, make the executives of the UFC in charge. You know, making them the money. But I don't know. Moving on, we got this little word war going on, or you know, online war going on between Daniel Cormier and Rumble Johnson with John Jones. There was an interview, I guess it was a couple days ago, where they were talking about John Jones, and, you know, basically Cormier called him a normal guy, said he wasn't really relevant in the sport anymore. Rumble Johnson said that John Jones' problem outside of the cage were basically amazing, and it kind of sparked Jones to really attack both of them on Twitter. I'll just run through the tweets right here. John Jones, can't wait to get back and slap one of these light heavyweights. Even on the sidelines, I'm more relevant than anyone in the division. You boys know when we all retire, you will just be known as one of my contenders. Easy for you to talk shit when daddy ain't home. DC, I'll always be that normal guy who whooped your ass. Rumble Johnson, you calling my out of the cage problems amazing. It's almost hysterical. Trying to shit on me doesn't make you look any more like a saint. I mean, what do you guys think about this? I mean, does John Jones even have a leg to stand on? Shouldn't he just be quiet right now and just let his work outside the cage kind of get back into fighting shape and let these problems outside the cage just subside here? I mean, it's stupid to kind of like poke the bear when you have these issues going on, don't you think?
I just want to jump in real quick and ask you, each of you, what do you got for the over/under on Jones versus USADA at his next hearing? Because they're actually taking bets on there's action on Jones versus USADA. There is. I'm not, they'll bet on anything, but no, that's.
I take USADA in the over.
He has a point. Yeah. Me too.
Right.
Me too. Absolutely. I'll say this. I think he has a legitimate point because I don't think that there's really anybody on two legs, to borrow one of Henzo's great quotes. I don't think there's too much on two legs that'll challenge John Jones in a cage fight, except for if you put a mirror up in front of him, and you can take that any which way you'd like, quite frankly. But that's he's trying to stay relevant, and I can't bother. I can't blame him for it. But
Right.
you know, he really needs to get cleared, and somebody around him needs to, you know, throw a Bible at him or something to at least keep him together so he can make a fight.
Yeah, I mean, he looked awful in his fight against OSP. There's OSP's a tough dude, but you mean to tell me John Jones goes 5 rounds with OSP? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. That's not the John Jones that tore through the division. Remember the John Jones that killed everybody and the whole camp?
Look what he did to Shogun.
That's what I'm saying. I remember. Look what he did to poor Matt Hamill. I know it was a DQ, but he was beating him from pillar to post. Or he took the hearing back into Matt Hamill. I hate to say it. Matt Hamill heard stuff after the beating. I hate to say it.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, that's so awful.
But I saw that fight. I remember that fight. I looked at him. I'm half deaf, so I looked at him. I was scared. I'm half deaf, but I said, "Oh, wait a second," you know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But, yeah.
I mean, yeah, he is trying to just stay relevant. He's trying to go the Conor route, as is everybody now. They want to go that Conor route. Let's just keep that motor mouth going and the Twitter machine going, and it all doesn't matter until they actually step in the cage. You know, John Jones is young. That's the only thing he's got on his side. But that's also the bad thing that he's got on the side, because he's young and he can still keep screwing up.
Right. I mean, listen, we all have had our demons in life. Nobody's perfect. I feel bad for his out-of-the-cage troubles. I really want the best for him and hope he can find his way back into the cage, making some money doing what he's done his entire life. I don't wish any ill intent on the guy. I just think he's foolish for kind of jumping in now. I mean, it's got to be frustrating, though. Listen, we all have problems. We all gotten into stuff with people over, in our lives, had problems, people talking bad about you, this and that. You know, you hear things through word of mouth. It's got to be weird sitting there watching ESPN, watching Fox Sports 1, and on an interview, that the entire nation can see, people are talking bad about you. I mean, I almost don't fault him for wanting to jump on and reply. I just think the better move would have been just to be quiet, work your way back into the cage, and then beat the snot out of these guys if you ever saw them again. It's just it's not a great look for him. I feel bad that it's even in a situation for him. I wish he could just get in there and fight with these guys. Unfortunately, you gotta sleep in the bed that you make. So
the talk is deserved though. It's deserved.
Yeah. I agree.
It's he doesn't have a leg to stand on. He doesn't. He should just take this and just turn himself around. That's what he needs to do. That's all he has to do. Once he does that, he'll get that belt back. I love DC, but he's not beating him.
Yeah.
He's not beating him.
No.
I mean, he's not beating him. And honestly, Rumble's not beating him either.
No. I would love to see him get his stuff together, come back, take that belt. And I could see him, honestly, doing work at heavyweight, too, if he kept – I hate to say this, sorry for the pun. If he keeps his nose clean, he would be able to
you
go
really
forward.
Think he can make heavyweight? You guys really think he can make heavyweight with those twigs for legs, though? Honestly, shouldn't he?
I think he
start
could.
doing some squat? He's got the skinniest legs I've ever seen in my life.
They're hanging out of the neck. The only other legs I've seen. Yeah.
Do I see him as a champ
absolutely.
at heavyweight? I don't see him as a champ at heavyweight. But if it's something maybe towards the end of his career, it's something to make some money.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
absolutely.
Of course, like you said, he's young. He's got a lot left in his career. So, we're talking almost a decade here of potential fight game, So at some point you figure he's going to work his way back. And who knows, as people get older, they start to retain weight in a different way. You've seen it a lot of times as these guys, go through their careers. They kind of like progressively, up their weight here and there. So, yeah, of course I could see him in the heavyweight division. But like I say, if it's that late in his career, I really can't see him making a run at the title. Although, hey, dude, he was a savage.
Yeah.
Like anybody who's a savage at some point has that in their bones, in their soul. They could still do it, Like I don't know. I just don't see it happening. I just wish he wouldn't have said nothing. Go ahead.
True. Plus the average age for heavyweight folks, we got to remember, I mean, those careers later for MMA. If you look at the talent pool up there, I mean, there's some pretty old guys. So I think you guys are right though that he would do some work, but he might not be a champ. But I would still love to see him get his stuff together and just give me another 5 more years like you just gave us before all this craziness. Imagine him beating everybody again.
true fight fans and people who love the sport for what it is, they want to see exciting fighters. They want to stand behind guys who can, bring what they don't see every day, dynamic strikers who are going to, end fights in spectacular fashion. Like, everybody loves the quick knockout. Everyone loves that big guy who you run around there looking at these 55 or 70s. Yeah, they're all right body size, but then when these big bodies come into the ring and you see two big-ass dudes slugging it out and, one of these guys is kind of athletic more than the other one, I mean, it's exciting. So people want to stand behind that. I really hope he gets back because the fight fan wants to see that. They want to stand behind that. So, obviously I'm pretty sure that you guys echo the same statement that you want to see him come back and actually make a run at this and put those demons behind him. I mean, no one wants to see somebody, be kicked out the bottom of the gutter of the UFC because they can't keep their nose clean, like Omar said,
Agreed.
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we did enough on that. Now, recently, the UFC was purchased by this group for $4 billion. The WME IMG group for $4 billion in August. Since then, the spectrum, the culture, the dynamic of the UFC has kind of changed a little bit. Recently, they've started letting people go all across. There's many offices in the UFC. It's not just stationed in Vegas. They do have people in Canada, Asia, Europe. But the purchasers firing 350 employees for the UFC. I know when they were prodded for comment, they said, "Hey, it's less than 15% of our workforce." But I mean, letting go of 350 people. Do you really think that the fight game or the promotion could keep going in the right direction by letting these employees go? I mean, what do you guys think about this?
Here's my question to you. Okay, now Omar, you too. 350 people go. Joe Silva's retiring. How much longer do you think Dana White's got in his spot?
I always think about that. I actually think about that a lot. Like, I mean, there's a certain point where someone
it never once crossed my mind until I saw this article that they let these people go. I think these new owners are going to start bringing their own people in.
Well,
they're not fight people. They're not fight people. And if Dana White's gone, they're going to run this company right into the toilet. Into the toilet.
My take on the whole MMA world and, the UFC in particular, because let's face it, we're talking most mainstream sports here. I do want to bring up Bellator and the other promotions, but, mainly talking UFC specifically here. It's been kind of crescendoing into this, climax, if you will. At a certain point, everything, even the NFL, is starting to see some, skeletons in their closet and their, I guess, value or whatever is starting to take little hits here and there. My thought and theory on the whole MMA world is sometimes it's good to have longevity. Sometimes it's good to have these dynasty-type guys, these dynasty-type fighters who do dominate the sport for a little bit. I don't want to see it in every division because then it kind of bores up divisions and, you're just fighting to see who's got the next title shot only to get their teeth kicked in. But I think that with it being so easy for anybody to get knocked out and anybody get beat, can you potentially see a time or a world where this sport actually is on the decline? Or, because of the masses, the USA masses or the world really, just doesn't want to see this guy win because he caught this guy in his chin doesn't make him a better fighter. I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, anybody can come in and beat anybody because they just caught somebody this fight. I just think that certainly with go ahead.
No, you have an absolutely tremendous point. That's one of the biggest issues with running an organization behind star power. It's tough because at any point you could have somebody get dusted, if it's not fixed, obviously, if we're going the non-WWE route. The fight game is so dynamic. You have, and I think that's why the UFC took the stance that it has with trying to build up like the NFL, build the shield, build the brand.
Right.
More so than, it's driven by stars and whatnot. But I do think you hit the nail on the head, Carl. There has been a little bit of oversaturation even just in this market. I do feel that deep down. I love watching all the fights, but I do know I'm in the fringe minority. I'll watch them all day, every day. But there's a point where I think that they're starting to see that. However, a lot of these layoffs, and something that I saw, one of the sources that I took a look at, a lot of those layoffs, 80% of the Toronto office for the UFC evaporated overnight. So now they might be seeing that they're reaching that point here, but I would like to see, what happens with Dana. That's a great point, Tommy. We have to see where he goes. I never thought I'd ever see the UFC without Dana, so it's going to be really weird if that happens. But are they going out east? Is my question too. I want to pose a question back to you guys. Do you think they're pulling resources out here so they maybe free up some hires out east, perhaps? What do you guys think?
That's a good point.
I don't know. I don't know. It could be now with this whole, New York signing and things like that. But I don't know. It's honestly scaring me as a fight fan to see where it's going, because I don't want to see the UFC just go completely into the toilet.
Of course not.
They're starting to they lost. Well, they lost a couple big name fighters that jumped over to Bellator, which is cool. That's pretty cool because Bellator it's free on TV, but you can't put Bellator on a pay-per-view card even with some bigger fighters, because you're not going to pay $60 for a Bellator event on pay-per-view with maybe 4 or 5 well-known fighters that are on there. You're not going to do that. And if Dana's gone, I don't know who they could put in there to replace him that can do the job the way he did it.
Well, it's not so much that 80% of the Canada office was let go. It's like, they let go Tom Wright. That guy was instrumental in getting, the cage ban lifted in Australia. He's instrumental in getting fights promoted in Canada. Guys like this are activists for the company and for the brand of MMA itself. So letting guys like this go, granted, he was the commissioner of the Canadian Football League, whatever, so some people are just in positions like that, but certain people just get it. They just get the business side of it, and they get what it takes to change laws around. So, you decriminalize the fighting world because, you have sanctions and there's safety precautions and all types of insurance measures that you take. Guys like this are instrumental in getting those things changed for the better for the sport. So letting guys like that go, I would think that you would have to be pretty gutsy and trust that your company has the right guys in place, because of course they're going to, like any GM for a football team, baseball, any sport, they want their own guys in play. This company is going to definitely, like you said, Tommy, hire some guys within themselves, within their own company, and place them in these job titles or give them these job descriptions, whatever title they may be. So I think they're going to bring guys in for their company or that work with their company to do these jobs. But do you think that, being that these guys kind of are thrown into a position, could you see it maybe deteriorating over time and making it more and more difficult for the fight game to be placed in new areas or, new parts of the world or new markets, basically? We just had a fight here in New York, and how long did it take? It could happen anywhere, really.
Well, that the whole stuff with New York was because of the culinary union and what was that, a crooked senator or something like that? That has nothing to do with that. But this sale is so new. You don't even know who the real owners are. There's so many people that have a stake in ownership. Ben Affleck has
Maria
some sort of stake in the ownership. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Sharapova
it's just
part of
right.
Yeah.
Get her into the ring. Put her in one of those little singlets.
Oh.
It's just so weird because we just don't know. We don't know. I don't like what I'm seeing with these, all the, what was it, 350 people let go?
Right.
You don't know who's getting put into that spot, if there is going to be any at all. We don't know anything because this new ownership really hasn't stepped up and done anything. It's still just Dana in the forefront.
Right. Well, just looking back to kind of put a bow on this, it is 350 people. But while it was 80% of the Canadian office, there was Las Vegas execs let go. Asia, Europe, Brazil, Latin America. So it is kind of spread across the UFC globe. So it's not really, this branch is shut down, this branch is shut down. They kind of like spread it out. So I think that they basically evaluated who they're paying and kind of want to make more money for their main top executives because, what you do to cut salary, you just give the people who are still under your employ more job descriptions. You just make these guys that are left working for you work harder. So in turn, they're going to be making the same profit. Those profits are going right into the exec's pocket as bonuses. That's just what's going to happen. They're still going to make the money that they're making, and it's growing exponentially right now with Conor, with, the women in the game now. So I just think that while this whole thing is going on and it's scary to see who's going to get fired next, I mean, for the near future of the sport, I don't think there's anything really to worry about, but it definitely is something to watch. All right, well, right. Just tomorrow we got the Bellator 162 coming up. This fight is free. I think it's on Spike, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Spike, yeah. What time does it start? 7:30? Is it an early start for these Bellator fights? I don't know exactly when it starts. I should have did my research on it, but I'm pretty sure the undercard started at 7:30.
Probably, yeah.
Right. Being Bellator, it's the Bellator card. We don't have to sit here and run down every single fight. We did briefly touch on the card in our little pre-show warm-up here. I guess one of the bigger stories before we get into the main event and before we get into our opinions on who's going to win the fight, Kimbo Slice's son, Kevin Ferguson Jr., was set to fight the guy that he was fighting, Rick Bing. Rick Bing? Rick.
Yeah, Rick Bing.
Maybe I wrote that down wrong. Maybe I read it wrong off the website. Maybe they made the mistake. Who the hell knows? This guy missed weight.
I can't find the picture on Rick Bing. So
right, I don't even think he fought before. I really don't think he fought before. But he missed weight by 17 pounds. Guys, that's like a newborn baby. I mean, how could you have that much weight left on your body? And like I said, why would you even go to the weigh-in if you're that far overweight? I don't even understand how someone could do that and disrespect the fight game like that.
Maybe he was trying to think skinny.
Let me say this. Yeah, he was trying to think skinny. He was trying to do a Mayhem Miller type, cut. I would have loved to see the weigh-in and see if he pulled a Miller where he gets on, he weighs, 24 over, takes the shorts off, and thinks that miraculously he's gonna be making weight. If you lose weight, if you miss weight by 17 pounds, and I think Tommy will back me up on this, you didn't cut. You're either sick, you're injured, and you didn't cut. If you're
Absolutely
off by 17,
not, bro.
right, Tom?
I've never cut weight, and I know that you didn't cut if you miss weight by that much.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not just on him though. That's on his whole fight team. That's on his coaches, everybody that's making sure that he's staying on weight. So there's no excuse for 17 pounds. 5 pounds, okay. 5 pounds. It's like it's still bad pounds, but Bellator, they're still allowed to use IVs and things like that. So these guys can cut weight.
Yes.
The way that they're used to, and be able to get that weight back with IVs. But 17 pounds,
right?
I don't think this guy took the fight on a week's notice to where he couldn't make weight.
He had time. Right, he had time to cut. But that's what I think you're making a mockery of the sport in that point. You should never fight again if you miss a bad one. Right.
It's disrespect to the organization. It's disrespect to the sport. It's disrespect to Kimbo's kid because now he doesn't get paid.
That's what I'm saying. He doesn't his fight doesn't happen, and he doesn't get paid now. Like it's not even where he would relinquish some of his purse to the guy who does make weight. It's not a case like that. That fight's just suspended or canceled. It's taken off the card. That's got to drive the guy nuts. I mean, what are you going to do? You're basically, who knows if the guy has a job at home or what he does on the side. You're changing your whole life when you're missing your family. You're staying in fight camp. You're busting your tail to get in shape for this fight. And to have the other guy come in and basically, like I keep saying, make a mockery of the sport and yourself, that's got to be so frustrating. They should just let the guys fight in the street to the death at that point, and whoever wins, wins.
I think they should kick it old school. And they should make it like a throwback slice fight. It should be at a boatyard.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Boxing.
In the backyard with pit bulls all around.
Exactly.
Right. Someone in the backyard.
Jesus pieces. Yep, exactly. Giant
like
Jesus
6
pieces.
or 7 dudes screaming. Right. Exactly.
100%. And if there's ever a headlock thrown, it's stopped. No grappling. No grappling.
Separate them, bring them back to their feet, and let them slug it out.
Exactly.
And Sean Gannon is the referee. I want Sean Gannon to come back and referee that fight.
Yo, I'm sorry. I remember watching Kimbo when he came out, and like we loved Kimbo, but everyone wanted to see him get beat. And to see him get beat by a guy who was in a UFC gym, I remember it was me and like 10 of my friends sitting around. We were all drinking in my basement. We still live with my parents. They're all pissed off, like yelling at us for screaming. When Kimbo hit that mat, when Sean Gannon knocked him down, we erupted. I honestly thought that the cops were going to come because we went so crazy. It was such a fun time to watch. Oh, I used to love those days, man.
Well,
and he got fired.
He was a cop. I think he lost his job.
That's
he got fired.
crazy.
Yeah, he lost his job.
Wow.
You know, you can't do that. I'm sorry. Well, now you can. I don't know.
I don't see why he lost his job. Whatever. You can't train and fight a dude on, as like a sparring match? I don't know. Maybe there's laws in the police world that you can't do that, but whatever. Who the hell are cops saying?
Anyway. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, you could just dub it as a sparring match that kind of got out of control. Who the hell knows? Whatever.
I would. I mean, absolutely.
All right. Well, going over the rest. I don't want to go over the rest of the card because there's like 8 or 10 undercard fights, and I think there's four fights on the main card. We're kind of running short on time, so I really don't even want to go over all the fights on the main card. I mean, we just watched the event. It's going to be a good one. But headlining the event. Right, headlining the event, you got Alexander Shlemenko versus Kendall Grove. Kendall Grove, obviously the tough contestant. I believe he lost the finale, right? They gave contracts to both of them, him and Ed Herman. I can't remember exactly what was going on, but I know him and Ed Herman actually had like a slugfest. And I actually liked Kendall Grove. His personality was cool. You know, he's from Hawaii, whatever, kind of laid back. So he's someone that, if you know UFC, you'll kind of take to him, I guess, if you remember him at anything. But, I mean, which way do you guys see this fight going? Tommy, what do you think?
Shlemenko.
Yeah?
I think
I kind of was feeling this.
Yeah.
I was kind of leaning that way, too. I mean, I don't really know too much about, like, what their fight style, how this is going to, make up. So I'm interested to watch it still. I know Kendall's kind of like a banger, and he's got some submissions, but I was kind of leaning towards Shlemenko, too. I was watching some of his fights on YouTube, and, it just seems like he's kind of a tough dude. What about you, Omar? What do you think?
I have to agree. I mean, I've heard Kendall recently in some interviews say that he's falling in love with his KO power. He's getting addicted. He's got a couple of new folks in his camp that I think are making the best out of what's there. But I just anybody that has an Eastern European name and can grapple makes me remember Fedor. So I'm gonna have to say that I think it's going to be Shlemenko by just a grappling display. He's just going to make it a dirty fight. Pick him up.
The guy's got 29 TKOs under his belt in his 53 wins.
He hits hard.
That's insane.
He hits hard. He can grapple. I mean, the one thing that it'd be interesting to see is how he responds from the time off. For the
that's true too.
I think it was for what, super supplements, was it?
Right. Yeah. I was reading that. Yep.
Yeah,
so
but,
I mean, it's going to be interesting. It does add a dynamic to it, but being that this guy's a seasoned veteran in the cage and he brings a bigger skill set than I think Kendall Grove, who's still a good fighter. I just think he's going to kind of just overwhelm him a little bit too much and just be too much for him to handle. Another headlining fight, obviously, we're going to go with the two fights that are on the actual fight card promotion. Josh Appelt versus former WWE superstar Bobby Lashley. Dude, Bobby Lashley might be one of the scariest looking dudes I've ever seen. Like, who the hell would want to step in a cage with somebody that big? I don't care what fighting skill that dude is a monster. I'd be scared that he's just going to get pissed off and rip my head off. Like, that's it. That dude's an animal.
I still want to see Lashley versus Lesnar.
Yeah, that would be a pretty good
agree.
one. I really think. But, I mean, I just...
And on a reservation.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't want testing.
I know...
No testing.
Yeah, right.
No testing.
Just shoot yourselves up with steroids for 6 months each and see who's the big guy and comes out.
Have it on an Indian reservation where USADA has no law and just let those two go gas to the gills and kill each other.
That's 100%. Absolutely.
What do you guys think, though? Appelt or Lashley? What do you got?
Lashley.
I'm going. I'm going to jump on that.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the things is that I mean, he can't. His wrestling, regardless of his testing status, his wrestling's legit. Lashley,
Right.
I think, and that can dictate the fight.
I just think that a guy that big, sometimes you see, like, the longer the fights go on, if Appel could weather the initial storm, like, this guy's so full of muscle that those muscles are going to fill up with blood. He might be lethargic in a minute and a half into it, depending on how that fight goes. I don't know. I could just see if the fight goes a little long, Pelt maybe catching a tired-ass Ashley and just TKOing him because Lashley's a little too tired. He gets dropped real quick, falls down, and then those hammer punches get in, and 6 or 7 hammer punches land before Lashley lifts his hand to block or defend himself, and the ref is then jumping in and it's stopped. I mean, who knows? I mean, usually these things happen where Lashley's a more well-known fighter. If he gets dropped and is hit with hammer punches, the ref might be a little more hesitant to step in right away because the fans usually get pissed off on the early stoppages like that. So who the hell knows? I mean, I just think that Appel could have a chance to win this if it goes a little long.
His nickname's the Juggernaut
We'll see.
for a reason.
The Juggernaut?
Josh, the Juggernaut Appel. Yeah. So, I mean, the guy.
I don't know.
The guy is.
I don't know if you've
Love it. All right,
I don't
guys.
know if you've seen this guy, but he doesn't look like he's in too good a shape.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But sometimes those guys land. I mean, look, Roy Nelson's still a fighter in the MMA, as much of a joke as he looks like, but whatever. All right, guys, we got 4 minutes left. I wanted to run through a couple topics here, more of like a rapid-fire rundown thing. I'll give you guys each a minute on the topic. If you could wrap it up in less than a minute, that would be great. We do have 5 topics to get to, and I wanted to close us out. Number one, Michael Bisping calling out Weidman being the number one contender, saying he wants to fight with Weidman. Isn't Weidman stupid for even answering this question to the media? I mean, doesn't he have Yoel Romero standing right in his face? I mean, why look ahead? I mean, of course you're going to want to fight with the champ, but why even answer or entertain those questions now? Don't you think it's a little foolish to kind of like look ahead? Tommy?
Well, Weidman's not looking past Romero. Weidman is focused. He is one of the best out there, but of course he's going to answer Bisping because the guy trash talks him all the time. So
right.
Once he gets through with Romero, knock on wood, he wins. Then he goes and knocks Bisping the hell out. That's it.
Well, then, yeah, that's my point. Why don't you wait until that happens to answer those questions? Omar, what do you think?
I think it's we're seeing a little bit of the trickle down Conor McGregor effect. I think because what we have right now, yeah, exactly. What we have right now is a tournament of sorts at 185. So if, say for whatever reason, I think Weidman will win. But what if he doesn't win as exciting as the other side of the bracket with Jacare and Rockhold? So he needs to make sure that even if he generates enough heat where he does get that lotto ticket. Because
get that
I think
fight.
Whoever
right. If they both win, he's going to give it to the more exciting fighter. Right, exactly. Absolutely. So that makes sense. I'm glad you brought that up. Number 3, real quick, you got Nate Diaz taunting McGregor about wanting a trilogy fight. Obviously, any fight with McGregor is going to make the guy money, so everybody wants that fight with McGregor. But can't you? I can't see both of these fighters' careers ending without a third fight happening at some point in their lives. They could both be in their 40s, and I'll still want to watch that fight to see who owns the trilogy out of these two guys. What do you think, Tommy?
Who cares? Who cares at this point? Who cares?
I do. I think a lot of people care. That's the point. I think a lot of people care because it's 1-1.
But Dana said the third fight's not happening. They could bitch all they want. It'll happen when, if attendance is down and there's nobody else left for McGregor to fight.
Omar, what do you think?
I think that at 155, I'd be very intrigued to see that fight happen. Both of them.
I would too. See, and that's 2 against 1. 2 against 1, and the one guy that doesn't want to see is the Conor hater. So obviously we're right. He's wrong. All right, moving on. Really quick. Uriah Faber's just signed on to fight Brad Pickett at UFC 22 on Fox. Why is Faber still getting fights, guys?
I'm yawning just thinking about it. Honestly,
exactly.
He's a name. He's a name. Right. That's it. He's a name.
Have you seen that
chin? Well, we literally got 1 minute. He's got a chin. He does. I just think Pickett's going to test that chin. That's for sure. That's a good
Absolutely. Yeah.
And just recently, I want to just end it with this. Shane Carwin KO'd radio personality Jason Ellis with one hand duct taped to his side. Carwin, 41. Do you think he has a chance to come back in the UFC?
Absolutely.
I agree.
He's still got knockout power.
At heavyweight, yeah. And
KO power
at heavyweight.
No chance to knock anybody else out. Right.
They could.
Well, guys, we're right up against time here, and I'm pretty glad to say we got everything in that we wanted to touch on. It was a great first show. I really think we'll be working out the kinks over the next few weeks, and by week 4 we'll really be up and going. But I really consider this first show a success. Tommy, Omar, thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate you guys helping.
It was fun. I'll talk
guys.
to you guys next week.
Absolutely. Thursday, 7:30, Spinning Backfist MMA podcast. 2-minute warning. Peace out.